visibility to how everybody that's here. So I'm going to let Allie, if you can see the chat box and everything. I don't know if you have visibility to that. If anybody asking anything to kind of help us keep an eye on it. But welcome to the April strategic targeting webinar call. It's Allie and I again. I think you're going to have us for the foreseeable future as a pairing. One of the things that we wanted to do coming into the second quarter was have our second quarter focus be on what we're calling the catering army of one. And chances are either you or you know someone that's in the scenario where you have the weight, let's may say, of catering on your shoulders. And maybe the brand that you're working with doesn't have a lot of resources. Maybe you're at an independent restaurant scenario, so you don't have anyone. You're kind of flying solo on some of this, and so therefore there's a lot of pressure of what do I prioritize? How do I make this work? How do I know what to work on first and what after that's going to help me? So we're going to focus the next few months around the VBRs. We're always going to talk about VBRs and strategic targets, but we want to wrap it around those targets each month with some hopefully some support, guidance, ideas, strategies, etc. on how to do this solo. So, Allie, I'll give you a couple of minutes if there's anything you want to add as we kind of get going this morning or this afternoon, I guess.
No,
Any-
I don't have much to add. I am excited to be back. Thank you again for having me. I don't know how you keep assuming that I am a good fit for this, but I appreciate it. And yeah, I'm excited to share a little bit of strategy on this one. So I think it'll be exciting to see like how a little bit of a different approach for us than we've done the last two times will resonate. And so I hope everyone gives us all the feedback on whether they like this kind of style or not.
One thing I always like to tell people before we get going, there's a lot of stuff in here. So we're going to post it on the Catermind school site that we'll have available. So if you're part of the Catermind, if you've signed up, it's free to sign up, and we'll show you how at the end. But we'll always host the calls there in webinar video format, so you can go back and listen to anything, share with your teams. I did have a wonderful conversation with a corporate catering manager for some major brands this week, and she said, "Oh no, I love these calls. She's on every month, and she likes sharing it." So, Stacy, if you're out there, thank you so much for that, and we'll have that available for you and your team once we get going. The last thing I want to say before we kind of launch in here is there's going to be a lot of content, but we're going to break it down over the next couple of months as well. So if you start to feel a little overwhelmed with how much is in there, the message we'll kind of keep articulating over and over is you don't have to execute all of this information. You don't have to implement it. Find what works for you and implement it a small little piece at a time. But if everyone can latch onto one or two things that help make your life a little better when we're done with this, then we're going to say it was successful. So we're going to go ahead and get rolling. Some of this is going to be kind of high level, and then we'll get granular as we kind of proceed. So, are you a catering army of one? And it's that idea of you've got all these people behind you that need you to do things, right? But no one's really giving you a whole lot of tools and resources. And so you're kind of there to fend for yourself. And you think third party platforms, okay, that's easy. I can check that. I can sign up with Easy Cater and orders start to come in. I look around at my restaurants that either one or several that I have to support. Is there anyone in the restaurant that can help me out? What are some things that we can do? Can we start teaching people to have better conversations in the restaurant? Can they uncover leads from the diners that are there? And when we're handing out checks, or if we're talking to someone at the register, maybe I can have menus prepared and ready to go right under the counter with a business card attached or something to identify it's me. What are some little things that you can implement or other people can do to help you that won't burden them or overload their day, but at the same time can provide you some support and guidance? And so if that's you, if you are going, I've got a X number of restaurants, I have no real support. Maybe I'm a franchisee that works for the brand that doesn't have a leader, a catering leader within the organization, and my franchise org is too small to be able to have that person as well. So you're feeling a little solo in this. We're hopefully going to be able to help you. So if this is you, then hopefully you'll get something out of what we do today. I would also say if you're an owner and you are in charge of catering and you've taken on this responsibility, you're going to find a lot of this information, even though you're also that catering army of one for your four walls as well. So And Allie, anytime you want to jump in, I'm always going to give you some time. So anything here just before we move
Just
on?
that I love what you mentioned about like some of the things you can do inside the four walls because we've talked about it in the past, but like having your card and all of that stuff available for your ops teams, I think yeah, it drives sales, but also it just sort of reinforces that like relationship of we're here to support you. Like if anyone has questions, like please send them to me because I don't want you to have to handle this. I want to handle this for you. So I just love that sort of like relationship aspect as well.
I spoke to an owner yesterday for at a restaurant in Atlanta, and we were talking about something real basic that she can implement because it's all on her shoulders. And we were saying, just have your waitresses and waiters and wait staff bring a little card that says we do cater and have a QR code on it, and let them take it back with them so they can click, look at your menu, see how to order on your website. Those are some real basic things that you can implement that can just get handed out. Because she was saying that she got an order with a school that was, I want to say it was like 180 people or whatever they were feeding. And it just so happened to be that the person had eaten at her restaurant and then asked if she did catering. And that's the only way they found out. So don't underestimate the power of your diners that are coming in on a daily basis to be able to do this. So our focus for quarter two will revolve around this topic. How can we help you find shortcuts and efficiencies when operating as a catering army of one? Remember, there are ways to duplicate you. So we can replicate you, we can duplicate you and build more time into your day. We just have to figure out what's the best fit for you, your workload, and where can we squeeze that time in. So this is going to be a basketball analogy in celebration of the Monday NCAA championship for you Gator fans out there, and I'm sure there's a few. Congratulations! As an Alabama fan, we bowed out at the Elite Eight, but it was still a good year. I played basketball back in the day. Now that you would know from my age and my height, but I played basketball in high school, and I had a coach that told me very specifically, and I remember this. It was junior high, and it stayed with me for all these years. Is that when you're guarding someone, and this works for football, if you're going to tackle someone, you can't misdirect where your middle is. Meaning, so you can use arms and legs, and you can move the ball, and you can do different things to kind of make someone think you're going one direction when your intention is another. But your torso, your middle, is always going to be honest and it's going to tell you what direction you're headed. So always guard that torso because that's going to tell you. Don't get distracted by other things. And the same thing goes for your organization and it goes for your bandwidth. Always focus on the middle. And what do I mean by that? So I've got an operations background as well. Been in operations and sales for a really long time. And back in my Honey Bake days, I had 200 corporate stores. And one of the things that I learned very quickly was the top 20% of our locations were going to be successful no matter what. They're high achievers. They're people that were going to get it. The bottom 20% are going to fail no matter what. But guess which two groups take the most of your time? The top 20 and the bottom 20. Bottom 20 because you're focused on them, trying to get them fixed. The top 20 is because they're high achievers and they want to be recognized. It's that middle 60, though, that determines the success of your organization. And at Honey Baked, when we started our focus on the middle 60% of our restaurants, we would quintile them, is the term, where you break them into 5 groups. The middle 60 is where we focused because those are the ones that we're going to make this organization successful or not. So the top performers at the top, those that are easily improved with just a little help, that's the group we wanted to initially focus on. Then those that are probable to move with moderate support, and then those that you could move with significant help. You prioritize those things from top to bottom. That the more people, so if I have 20% successful, then I can maybe move that next 20 to successful. Now I'm 40% successful. Then I start working on that next grouping. You can do that with your own bandwidth as well. You can take the bandwidth that you have and say, okay, I'm going to take the 20% of my job that I love the best because that's what keeps me sane on a daily basis, the things that I like to do. And then I've got to do 20% of those things that I hate to do because they're necessary to get done. But then focus on that 60% of whatever time is remaining to do whatever's going to be the most efficient ways for you to move the needle in your organization. So again, the bottom 20, whether it's billing, whether it's thank you notes, or whatever it is that you just don't necessarily like to do, but you know it's necessary, make sure those get done. The top 20%, even if you feel like it's not overly productive, but you need that for your happiness, do that. And then focus on the middle 60. So what we're going to focus on today is how to maximize your middle 60 to be able to get you to where you want to be. So reserve 20% of your time for the things you love, 20% for the things you hate to do but are necessary, and then the 60% that's going to most effectively move the needle. If you haven't realized this by now, the whole concept of VBR selling is built around the concept of efficiencies, productivity, making sure that you're focusing on the most important opportunities at the right time in order for you to be able to be successful. So we're going to split this into three subject matters. So we're going to talk about build, strengthen, and expand client relationships, because that's one of those 20% areas where you can really make an impact. Hyper focus on high value opportunities, and we'll define what high value means. Develop a one to many strategy by leveraging strategic partnerships. So for the first one, build, strengthen, and expand client relationships. Prioritize creating trust and loyalty with existing, potential, and former clients through personalized automated communication and providing exceptional service. Leverage word of mouth potential to help expand. Use repeat business to build a referral program. Get your clients to help sell for you. And we'll kind of explain more. Ali's going to get a little more deep into the tools and some real things that you can do on the second half of this. But understanding that's what we mean by those relationships that are already there. It's always easier to maintain and grow an existing relationship than to try to find a new one. Then hyper focus on high value opportunities. And we'll break that down a little more. Focus on identifying clients or specific events that generate the highest potential revenue, provided that your operations can support. And I'll give you an example. Black Friday, Teacher Week, back to school, right? If you have a price point that fits and you're in the right space for that, um, those situations should not be ignored. Meaning that even if it means I have to spend more time 6, 8, 10 weeks ahead to get all my other stuff done, so then when I get closer to schools, I can get more of my attention so I don't miss any schools. So instead of saying I've got 80 schools within 20 miles, you've got to hit all 80. That's a low hanging fruit. It's an understood event. Don't pass that up so you can go visit the business down the road that you have no idea if they cater or not, much less. You've got a finite list of this. So understanding where to focus your attention. Most large opportunities take longer to close, but you tend to have substantial planning time to help make sure ops team has enough lead to make it happen. So always spend a percentage of your time on the whales, not an over amount of time, but an acceptable amount, maybe 5%, 3%, 10%. And I'll ask Ali a little bit what her number is on those types of things shortly. And then finally, collaborate with other entities to help you get the word out. Business associations, complementary businesses, compatible venues, event planners. This helps you amplify exposure without the need for additional labor or time on your end. So getting other people, again, to sell for you, to help you sell. So Ali, anything on these three pieces here that kind of, I know there's a lot I just covered, but anything that stands out that you'd like to jump on real quick?
No, in fact, I'm not an expert on this, Byron, because I was a swimmer. So where my middle was pointing was always the wrong direction. So I'm not qualified.
Fair.
But I will say I'm pretty close to this actually. As we were looking at this, I'm thinking this is actually how I kind of spend my time. I would say maybe on the high value opportunities, I'm pushing toward like 15. So it's a goal of mine to kind of spend a little bit more time there. And where I definitely spend more time is on that build, strengthen, and expand client relationships, because that's the stuff that I really like to do.
Well, when Ali and I started talking about what we wanted this subject matter to be about, a lot of the inspiration was based on her methods of maintaining and growing her existing client base. And so I think you're going to be pretty excited when you get to hear some of the things she has to say about that. So, all right, so we're going to cover this a little quickly to make sure we have plenty of time to go over the BBRs. And so Ali has enough time to do her part here at the end. But we'll send these out, obviously, you're going to have access to this deck. So we always like to make sure that you have a chance to come back and review this. So build, strengthen, and expand client relationships. I have 5 areas that I wanted to highlight. So follow-ups. If you are not doing follow-ups, to me this is a no. You have no reason not to do this. Should be a priority 1 every time. Every order goes out, it should be followed up with. I don't care if it's $100 order. I don't care if it's $1,000 order. Sometimes people will say, "Oh, it's a big order. I only focus on the big ones." I'm like, that $100 order may be the next $1,000 order. It may be a test. It may be something to try you with a small group to see how you execute, to then move on to the bigger one. If you don't have time for this, delegate this task. If you don't have one to delegate, then just find time for it, because to me this is the single most important thing you can do, is nurture those existing orders into long term. I think Arya said it on a Cater Mind call a few weeks ago, quoting Mo, one of the catering godfathers from MSI, who said it's the third order that's the golden order, because that's the one that solidifies them as a client. And so it's not the first order, it's not the second, but if you get them to that third order, they're going to stay with you because you've built enough credibility with them that you can even mess up an order because you've proven yourself 3 times prior. And so don't underestimate the value of the follow-up. Workflows. So you are just one human. And so if you've got 150 qualified leads into your funnel at the moment that are potential catering customers that have not ordered yet, and you need an average of 6 or 7 touch points before someone will try you, that's 1,000 touch points. If you cannot come up with an automated workflow to be able to do that, you will spend all of your time in workflow mode following up on leads. And when I say follow-ups on the left side, those are orders. The follow-up here I'm talking about is I've initiated, I've qualified, I'm spending all my time following up. What happens then is I'm not prospecting because I'm following up. And what happens is you get the roller coaster. So all of these leads, you're going to push them all through the funnel at the same time. You don't have any time to prospect. And so what happens is those orders make it through the funnel, and now you've not prospected, so you have nothing to refill it, and you get the roller coaster. So workflows help you do that. Whatever means you can do to help automate it, whether it is a CRM with workflow capabilities or sequencing capabilities, or whether you have some way to do some subtle bulk email outreach, something you can do to help get multi communications out at once is very helpful. Frequency, knowing the balance between too little and too much is key. Find a nice frequency, call volume, and make sure each message stands, so it should be stands alone. I apologize for that typo there. So understanding that communication should be consistent. Again, if you can get this worked out going, I want to spend 10% of my time prospecting. I want to spend 15% of my time doing workflows and moving folks through the funnel. I want to do 10% of my time on follow-ups of current clients. I want to then do some strategy pieces. Whatever those percentages work out, just be consistent. Maintain that balance week after week. As you get close to peaks like Black Friday, like Teacher Week, or appreciation season, all these different things that kind of come up, you may need to adjust that a little bit because you want to do less prospecting the first week of May, I'm guessing, and do more closing, customer success, support pieces, because that's where your orders are going to accumulate and be in bulk. So I talked to someone that's working in a Mexican fast casual concept, and they're like going, between Cinco de Mayo and graduation, we're crushed. We can't even go after schools and nurses week and those types of things because everything's graduation and Cinco. So again, if I'm a non-Mexican concept, I'm going, hey, and more for more for us kind of thing. So understanding how that frequency should work from month to month helps. We did something a while back called the catering wave. If you need some help on that, I'll be happy to send that back to you to help you understand how to control your frequency all year long. Referrals, getting other people to sell for you is a priority. If you're doing good follow-ups and you build those relationships, then you can now go back to those same people and say, hey, if you know someone within your building, within other buildings, within your family circle, within your friend circle, and can you help me get the word out? And then you can come up with a program of some sort to help reward them. Maybe it's a gift card, maybe it's a complimentary meal, whatever it might be. And then ID like targets, fish where the fish are biting. So look at your list of clients. How are they coming in through Easy Cater? How are they coming in when they're calling in directly? All of a sudden, you start to see an industry start to spike. Then that tells you where to go hunt for more of the same. I used to use this analogy with Honey Baked many years ago for corporate gifting. In Baton Rouge, I had 39 engineering companies. 17 of them were buying corporate gifts. Guess what? Guess the other 22 were on my list to reach out for the following year. So understanding where your clients are coming from will help you to identify where to find more. All right, high focus on high value opportunities. One, look for repeat business. So look for targets that are likely to have frequent needs. Venues, car dealers, hotels without food, provide frequent meals, sales reps. So anything in the lunch and learn space. We were calling engineering companies, and they were telling us they celebrate construction safety week because the engineering sometimes will, or they're partnering heavily with construction companies, and so sometimes they are providing meals for the construction companies in that situation. Furniture sales reps sometimes will do come into the different furniture stores, and they'll do lunch and learns when they have new products, and they'll feed the staff. I've seen veterinarian pharma, dental pharma. There's different types. So understanding how the lunch and learn model works. Large orders, they may not order often, but when they do, it's a big one. This can include single opportunity events like workshops, trainings, conferences, visiting athletic teams, etc. But spend a little bit of time looking and hunting for those big opportunities and be far enough ahead to where decisions are not quite being made. But Google searches, we do one that's called lunch provided search, where you put lunch provided in quotes, put your city, and put the year, and you'll see any web page that's out there that's got lunch provided in a string that's coming into your area. And if you need some help with that, reach out to me. I can show you how to do that. Expansion likely. So look for opportunities that have a lot of upside. So large headquarters, medical, or universities that have multiple departments. Because if we're going to use a referral program, then we need to have a business is big enough to be able to give you other departments to move into. And so those kind of go hand in hand. And then sometimes high value is something that's easy to execute. So meaning that it's something that's a no-brainer. It's easy. You don't have to do much. It's low maintenance. You want as many low maintenance clients as possible. Even if they say, hey, I order for 15 people every Friday for the foreseeable future, those are wonderful clients. They don't take much of your time. They don't require much maintenance. They order for themselves. They order the same thing, whatever it is. Those are very important. So the more that you can find those easy to execute, common repeat type opportunities, you should. And then the last one here is a one-to-many sales approach. So industry associations, not really talking chambers here, talking more like business associations. So a home builders association, the bar association, medical society. The chamber, sometimes you get swallowed up by all the restaurants that are part of the chamber. But sometimes if you call SHRM, which is the Society for Human Resource Management, if there's a chapter in your area, there's probably not many restaurants that are part of the Human Resource Association. And sometimes you can kind of get the word out. And a lot of times the people that are attending those are decision makers. They're trainers, are they hiring managers, are they admissions folks at a university. So IAAP is another one. If you have a chapter, I know Allie's in DC. I know they have one there. The International Association of Administrative Professionals. So secretary, receptionists, office managers, pure gold for a catering person. So if you have an IAAP chapter in your city, I would say that's an area to look into as well. Join a marketplace. There are multiple out there. So sign up for those that offer favorable commissions and require little time. So Easy Cater is the big one, obviously, but there's other ones out there. I would say join as many as you can if there's no fee to join, and you can generate more sales, even if it's an order a month or an order a quarter. It's new business, and if it's low maintenance, I would say look into it. Industry bulletin boards, so Facebook groups, Reddit, and others are a great place to meet people or potential buyers. I go to Reddit sometimes with the restaurant owners chat, and some of that stuff is a little wild. It's a little intense, but there's a cool way to, if you've got an idea and you share it, people really gravitate. There's a lot of people hungry for ideas there. So sometimes if you're at home and you got 10 minutes and you got the Reddit app open and you can hunt and mine for opportunities there. Sometimes restaurants will, businesses will tell you, oh, I'm looking for a caterer that can do this. You'll find those types of things when you visit there. So social media platforms, I want to say this about LinkedIn because I love LinkedIn, obviously, right? I have a business. My clients are all restaurant people. So all of my connections are restaurant people. If you are a catering salesperson, your connections should not be all catering salespeople because that's not your client. Your client is businesses in your community. So start looking for HR managers, start looking for leads and contacts within your area versus it being a true social media platform where you're just bonding with like-minded professionals in your industry. Because one's going to help you maybe be more sane. The other one's going to help you with more business. And I think use it in a way to help you drive sales. The reason I say that is, I'll share this. If you post a successful catering order and you announce who the business is and you announce how many
It's
meals
my
are being
favorite thing to say. It's my favorite thing.
when somebody posts, "Hey, we said we did 800 lunches at ABC company," and I'm sitting there going, "Oh, okay, that's in one of our
Taking
markets."
a yeah.
Now I know they cater, and sometimes they'll take a picture of the person and even tell me who the point of contact is. So, not that you don't want to celebrate, but leave some of the pertinent details out, and you'll get just as much recognition. But be careful of how much you share because your competitors may capitalize on those sort of things. And then set up an inbound email or phone number if you can figure this part out. I think this is very helpful. Something you can publish an email address, not your personal email address, but a catering at email address or a specific phone number where people can leave a message, and then just incorporate that each day, and then put that number out there, put that email out there for people that might be looking. You can even build a jot form solution or something where you do a Google form that people can fill out and tell you what their needs are. But it's a good way to again drive attention for big potential orders. So a lot of talking right there, Allie, for a few minutes. But any thoughts on any of these things here, real quick? I'll back up a couple slides.
No, you're fine. I'm going to talk a little bit more about this later, but the biggest thing that I keep thinking of as you're going through each of these is that these sound like they have to be like expensive or bigger solutions, like really kind of robust things. But I want to just kind of highlight, and we'll talk about it more in a little, that a lot of these things we can do from Excel or Google Sheets if we have to. There are ways that we can kind of implement some of these things without breaking the bank, because I know a lot of us are kind of stuck as far as what we're allowed to or what we're able to invest in, especially early on.
Very cool. All right. So let's get into some VBR stuff here real quick. One thing before we talk about the elephant in the room. That's kind of our one of the things we talk about each month now. This one is outsourcing. Outsourcing solutions has to be an option for brands that have minimal resources. Just understand that. You cannot expect your one catering sales professional in your organization to do everything without any help. So help find outsourcing solutions that will be something that they can utilize and help them to grow, whether it's lead gen, whether it's something that's just going to be a lead database that you can help them buy, whether it's working with a sales org or a marketing agency or something to help them to get more out of their limited time. I will tell you, if you're a leader and you're listening to this call, if you don't provide solutions for them, they are going to crash eventually if you don't provide them something to help prop them up. They need someone to delegate to. They need someone to brainstorm with. They need to have someone that they can build some synergy. And a lot of times when they're by themselves, there's no one to do that with. So think about different opportunities, whether it's again a CRM tool, an order tech, a referral program, anything that can kind of give them some support. It doesn't, again, to Ali's point, it doesn't have to be a big expense, but it can be something that can be small and can really provide a lot of value. So please, I'm telling you that I'm sure they've expressed it to you, but it's very stressful for them to have to try to figure it out on their own. So again, if you're new, this is your first time, we'll do a quick blurb. Strategic targeting is not everybody caters. So in our effort to make sure that this is a proficient, efficient, whatever word we want to use to make this easier for you, we've got to add some filters to what's out there as potential businesses. So start with your trade area, identify 10 or more employees, look at a certain radius around your location, and then figure out what businesses are the right fit for catering. And then you can minimize wasted calls because you don't have time to waste. Then we incorporate VBR selling into this. So VBRs for us is a subject matter. It's an event. It's an industry-driven opportunity that gives your expert, your catering professional, something to talk about. And then so we incorporate a sales calendar. Again, if you haven't signed up for CaterMind, do so, please. It's free to join. You'll get a free copy of our catering calendar. It is not dates on a page. It's not Taco Day or Pink Lemonade Week or anything like that. It's really industry-driven events that are going to help you to understand how to prioritize who my targets are. Ali touched on it a little bit earlier. I think we were talking about the lead time before these different types of events take place. The calendar will help you to plan for that. So if you've got a salesperson, this is going to be a really good tool for you. So think about things like, okay, right now, first week of April, school, medical, construction, law firms, and we'll talk about what all those are in a minute and why. So we want to reach out in their listening window. 4 to 6 weeks prior to an event, you should start selling. Actually, some scenarios, it might be as much as 8 weeks ahead, depending on what it is. But you want to be far enough ahead where they haven't made their decision yet, but not so far ahead they're not ready to talk about it, but not so late that they've already made a decision. So it's understanding what's the best listening window for me to call that business with that VBR, which we're going to touch on. All right. So quick review of April. So there's still some time in April for some of these. Some of these are already going to be passed by the time we talk about this. Admin Professionals Week. If you didn't see last month's video, go back and watch it. Ali and I disagree a little bit on whether this should be a marketing opportunity or a sales opportunity, but whatever it is, do something with it. There's just too much on the table to ignore. So there's a really every business out there more than likely that you cater to has an admin. That person that places the order alone is usually that person. It's occupational therapy month. It's pest control month. Yes, my team did generate a Terminex order last week, so it does. There is some opportunities with pest control. Paraprofessional Day, one of the first school opportunities, took place last week, along with School Library Day. You also have Bus Driver Appreciation Week coming up later this month as well. Some other ones to focus on: National Dental Hygienist Week. So we're in the middle of that right now. National Pet Day is on the 11th. So great opportunity for veterinarians, pet stores. They might be doing some things to celebrate. Public Safety Telecom Week, 911 call centers and different things. There's usually some need to celebrate. National Lineman Appreciation, so electric companies, cable companies, those types of things. Sometimes they'll buy meals. Medical Lab Professionals Week. Actually saw a dental. We had one of my people had, I think it was a dermatology lab, but they ordered for like 48 people. So it is something that's on the radar. And then Veterinary Receptionist Week. So those are some leftover opportunities for April. Anything on those, Ali? I don't want to put you on the spot. I know you're going to be talking a lot at the end, but if there's anything you want
Yeah,
to chime
I'll
in.
save I'll save it so I still have something to say
All
later.
right. But so by now it's time to focus on May, though. Appreciation season is in full bloom. Many opportunities are all across May in areas of education, public service, healthcare, law enforcement, and public service. Again, I put that twice, and skilled trades. So the big four, and again, are not always your best sales opportunities, but your best way to meet people in that industry that's going to generate sales for you all year long. Again, one to many, one opportunity that can turn into multiple orders versus selling to a specific event. So Teacher Week, obviously there's a lot of upside with Teacher Week, but the bigger prize is back to school and then events all year long through the school system. Construction Safety Week is taking place as well in early May. Lawyer Wellbeing Week, we'll touch on that. It's one of my favorite things to call for. And then Realtor Volunteer Days. So again, these are not the four biggest sales drivers, but what these are the four biggest sales, long-term sales opportunities that you beat. So we're going to go through these a little quickly. Teacher Week, the last few years have shown us, at least what we've seen in on our data, is that Teacher Week is almost now as becoming a bigger revenue driver as back to school season. And back in my day, back to school was always a lot bigger because usually Teacher Week had to do with PTOs, PTAs, and it was harder to get those folks, and they had less money, and they were going potluck a lot of time. We're starting to see now money being shifted by the school systems to this week to be able to generate some appreciation. So there's some money starting to flow more from these school districts that we've seen in the past. So this isn't just a celebration event any longer. It's also paired with teacher work days in a lot of markets. So sometimes there's instruction kind of embedded into the week, but they lace it with some food to make it look like it's a little fun. But it also follows other school-related events, again, paraprofessional, bus driver, library, all taking place in April. So you have multiple reasons to reach out with different conversations to have, and maybe you can get that little school volunteer week opportunity prior to Teacher Week to be able to kind of get them to try your food with smaller opportunities. It is important. It's probably in some ways more important than back to school because it often works as a foot in the door for back to school. So if you do well with Teacher Week, a lot of times, especially if they're blown away and they had a great experience, they will come back and do back to school orders as well. So, and also I always tell restaurants when you're opening in a market, and I always say, how do you get brand awareness? I cannot think of a better way to get brand awareness than through schools, whether it's feeding the teachers, taking things home, giving free cookies away to every student in the school or whatever it is, to be able to mass out awareness. Schools are one of the best ways to do that. because there's so many people associated by it within the first, second, or third touch points from that student and from that teaching staff. So always use it as a way to grow brand awareness in your markets. So, how do you plan for it? Reach out to schools from three different directions. At least this is my strategy. Front office outreach, whether it's a personal visit or a phone call. If you can, send a principal an email. Separate communication, right around in the same window. And then if you have visibility or access to PTO or PTA leaders, do so, especially for Teacher Week. Sometimes if you go to the school website, sometimes there is a link for PTO, PTA, and you can find information there. So go and search. Who buys tends to vary, but a combination of these visits, emails, and phone calls is usually the best way to kind of saturate it to be able to maximize the opportunity. Build a list of all schools in your delivery range. Update it twice a year. That should be a no-brainer. Just have a school list and update it, meaning the point of contact. Your principal sometimes will transition, sometimes mid-year, but more often it's the summertime changeover. And then your secretary receptionist tend to be more consistent than the administrative staff does. So if you get a secretary in place, they may be there for years. But to keep that list updated, generate collateral to share. Minimal options were great. So a couple things there is for collateral, it can be just take your regular menu pricing, minimize it to just a few options. So think ham, turkey, chicken salad, or whatever, if you're a sandwich place, and a veggies option or a salad, and keep yourself to 3, 4, 5 menu items. So it's easy to operate and execute, and then give yourself a price point that's going to be able to compete with it. And then create a piece of collateral. It doesn't have to be anything where you're changing or adding menu items or anything. Just kind of decorate it up to where it's got a school vibe, so it looks like you created it for them versus it just being a generic. So reach out to ISDs, independent school districts, district offices to see if there are options to have them assist you in getting the word out. I've made a lot of calls over the year. You have a great call with the school board and they go, hey, what if I just send this out to all the restaurants? Bless you, because I don't know if my emails are getting through or not. And if they can send this off to other schools, you can just start to multiply orders very quickly. Again, 4 weeks out, first wave should be completed probably now. Second wave of outreach, 2 to 3 weeks, meaning that follow-up outreach, and then start sending out quotes. Once you know how many people work there, send quotes. Even if they're not asking for them. 80 people at $8 a person, $640, we'll do free delivery, whatever it is that you're offering. But send the quotes out because it just pushes you further into the opportunity to close that. And then finally, from an execution standpoint, don't over-focus on non-essential industries. Focus on those things that are going to be some opportunities just specifically in those first few weeks of May. So don't get sidetracked with calling businesses that don't have anything going on. Focus strictly on what the calendar is telling you. I think you'll find the best results. We're going to blow through these others really quick. Construction Safety Week is the next one. It's often overshadowed by Teachers and Nurses Week because it's in the same week. And so it kind of gets lost. Your competitors are likely to ignore it. And sometimes if there are safety awards or there's special meals, and construction companies can actually be pretty good sizable orders at times. So if you've got construction companies go in with the Construction Safety Week VBR, ask about safety awards, ask about opportunities to feed their team. We'll step through the targets and the use cases because most of those are going to be somewhat self-explanatory. Just keep in mind that if it's a field meal, meaning they're in the field, they're doing build out, it's going to be individual meals. If it's more classroom related events, it could be platters. If it's celebration, then it's going to be more bar buffet style based on where they're holding it. But this will be available for you to come back and review. The third one is Lawyer Wellbeing Week. It is a true VBR fake out, meaning that I don't care if I sell any meals for Lawyer Wellbeing Week. What it is, it's an opportunity though for me to be able to get lawyers on the legal opportunities on we're on their radar as an option for them to reach out to. You can do a quick Google search about Lawyer Wellbeing Week. And I think I've even added a link over here, or I intended to, maybe I didn't. Nope, I didn't. So if you go to Lawyer Wellbeing Week, do a Google search. One of the things that I found out that was interesting was Mondays is about physical strength, physical health. The Tuesdays is about spiritual growth. Wednesdays about intellectual strength and growth. And so every day is a different component. So you have different opportunities to bring meals in. And if they don't know what lawyer well-being is, when you send your menu, say you're going to send them a link about it as well. So you're helping to educate them on an event in their industry, which is really kind of cool. And then, so there's some other pieces here on who the targets are. Don't forget things like law schools, court reporters, and such as well. And then the final one is realtor volunteer days. There's real estate agents and then there's realtors. Realtors are usually certified and have gone through extra training and have more ethics training and such. And so that group, the realtors, have something called realtor volunteer days. So it's a great reason to reach to real estate agents, learn more about these opportunities. If they're doing community type events, it's a great way to feed them in these types of events. But all year long, real estate agents, especially some of the bigger brands with larger offices, will often have lunch and learns with mortgage companies coming in, title companies, and others who have budgets set aside to be able to introduce their product to this grouping. And I did add a directory here for you when you get it of where to find your local realtor office in your community. But in the calendar, there should be some of those links as well. So finally, other highlights for May: School Principals Day, Public Service Recognition Week. We're already getting some orders at NCC for that as well. School Volunteer Week, National EMS Week, Firefighters Day, Correctional Officers Day. We've gotten some prison orders as well, which is really kind of neat, and they're pretty good size. National Police Week, Transportation Week, Public Works Week, Receptions Week. It's almost wish, why did they put everything in May? It's like everything's in May. There's so many opportunities. Third shift workers day is something that is often missed. And if you've got a plant or a factory or facility that runs shift work, even hospitals, it is a great communication piece to be able to get your foot in the door. So, all right, Miss Allie.
Cool. All right. So I this time we wanted to change it a little bit, our strategy, so that we could share some more sort of specific, strategies or tips that we have, things that have worked well for us in the past. So I want to kind of just expand on what Byron was talking about at the beginning of our call and give you some of like tips and things that I've seen that have worked well. So the first thing that he talked about was building, strengthening, and expanding existing client relationships. And we talked about sending personalized follow-ups or sending follow-ups in general as being a non-negotiable. 100% I agree. If you don't know where to start and you're just an army of one, like we say, I think the number one thing you should be doing is following up with every single customer you have. So I like to think of this as non-negotiable, but how you choose to approach them, that's where you can kind of customize and figure out where you want to spend more or less time. So for this, I'm basically going to focus on 4 different sort of, ideas around how we do this and what we've seen that's worked. And for me, automation is king. We've talked about this. I think I say it so much on every one of these calls, but anything you can automate is time back in your pocket. So personally, I like to automate a follow-up email that gets sent for every 2 or 3 purchases, right? So I want to do this so that the admin that orders every week is not getting the same email from me every single week. And you'll see why a little bit later. I'll mix it up, but I start that trigger at every 2 to 3 purchases. And if you don't have the ability to set up a trigger, what you can do, and what I'm doing currently actually, is working out of Excel for this. So I can create a follow-up report for every order I had the previous week. And on Monday, typically I'll send out all of my follow-ups. And it's a little bit more manual. It's not quite full automation, but I have sort of a canned response set up in Gmail, something simple that you can do. You customize it just a little bit and get those out. The reason I say every 2 to 3 purchases is because we do like to get personal. Obviously, this is a relationship business. So handwritten thank you cards, we say it all the time. I think this is really important. I cannot emphasize enough that handwriting these is really important to me. I've said it on the last call. This is how I met my husband. He gave me a thank you note that was handwritten. And again, this is for every 2 to 3 purchases. So I'm weaving this in with the automation so that it's not like just totally robotic, but it's also not totally time consuming for me. And I say larger events here too, because obviously if someone does a $10,000 event with me, they deserve a written thank you note rather than that automated email, right? So like, and it doesn't have to be that glaring of an example, but you can kind of sort your reporting, even in Excel, by the size of the deal from the previous week, and then kind of decide where you're going to spend the most of your time.
And I know we had touched on the idea of could you have a font that looks handwritten, and you were like,
I say no. I say no. My thought is if you're going to take the time to design something like that and order it and the money on having it printed, save that money, save that time, and use it on automating the email outreach because it'll be far more effective. And you're not losing the efficacy kind of around the handwriting note. And it takes a few minutes. It doesn't have to be a novel. Just write, hey, thanks so much for your order last week. We love to work with you. See you soon. Something. Um, in these follow-ups, we should always be gathering feedback. So I mentioned this to Byron. I don't know if I've said this in these calls before, but we don't just say like, how was everything? We push for constructive feedback. And there's two reasons for this. One, we actually want to learn from this, correct? Like we cannot ask for feedback and then do nothing with it. And so we are pushing for them to tell us what we could do better. What do other companies do that was better than us is something I like to ask. Or what's your, who is the best delivery experience you've ever had? Tell me about that. Because it's important that we're pushing for this so that we can improve, number one. And number two, so that if it was really good, there's a sort of I don't know, emotional response or something that the guest will remember when they are forced to come up with something negative and they're like, actually, I can't think of anything. This was great. It gives us the ability to hear that from them and kind of force it out of them, which I think is powerful. And then lastly, obviously, we're always wanting to fill the funnel. So in these follow-ups, we are always asking for upcoming events. What do you have coming up that we can help with? And we're asking for referrals. Who else does what you do? Are there any other admins that I can talk to that do a similar thing? Byron, I think that's all for me, unless you want to unless you want to add
Oh
anything
no, I
there.
think well, the thing is, and one thing we touch, and we'll probably touch on it again. Referrals don't have to necessarily be in the same business. It can be other
Mhm.
businesses in the building. It can be relationships that they have internally. I've done a lot of orders over the year, going, "Hey, I just sent you to a couple of friends of mine that also do this from time to time." Those are always very big referral opportunities. Don't be afraid to ask. So yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay. So the next thing around building and strengthening the current relationships are regular check-ins with past clients. So in addition to the follow-up every week for me, but whatever your cadence is, this should be outreach going to your base, existing base. I set these at about 30, 60, and 90 days without a purchase. If you have a CRM environment, something that doesn't have to be expensive or fancy, it can be MailChimp or HubSpot or something that kind of is more affordable and just as effective at sort of tracking and email marketing. You can set up triggers for these sorts of things. And really some of these CRMs, you can get very specific with those triggers. And it's that to me is a lot of fun to play with. This is where I spend my extra 20% is on the stuff I love for this. And then you can kind of figure out what cadence works, what offers work. Is it like free delivery? Is it that you get a special meal? Something like that to sort of re-engage some of our existing base. I like to think of this as the VBRs take priority. So all of the things that Byron and I are talking about on these calls, the industry specific, calendar specific targeting, that takes priority on the automation. And then we layer in sort of a baseline messaging to stay top of mind for everybody else. One way that you can do this is if you do have a CRM environment, you can eliminate anyone from your list after you've filtered it out. Let's say maybe you're targeting teachers or education or something generally as an industry. You can filter out anyone who's received a message from you maybe in the last week or 3 days or whatever. And that way you won't be doubling down with a thank you message for your order on Monday and on Tuesday sending out your teacher appreciation week messaging to the same person. Again, we like to get personal. So some of these will be in-person meetings. We talked about prioritizing sort of we'll do more prioritizing high value clients, but these may be people that you think really need that extra kick of confidence in you. Maybe they had a bad experience, or maybe they had a great experience, but they just do one event a year or something where you're like, I know I can get more out of these people, but an email's not going to cut it. Right. So that's where I would schedule some of those in-person meetings. And if you haven't heard from someone in a while and you're like, okay, the free whatever delivery cookies, whatever is not getting them re-engaged. One thing I like to offer is like an afternoon, either like I say like a pick me up or happy hour type of event, something like a snack drop where we're kind of like giving them the ability to be like the office hero or schedule something to really celebrate their team that makes them look really good, because we definitely want to build that like trust and generally the relationship there.
That 3:30 drop off, right? That middle afternoon where people are looking for that something. Yep.
Exactly. And in my concepts, operationally, that 3:30 time slot is the best delivery time for my ops teams because nothing else is going on except for like shift change at that point. So that's one that we really love. And then in this case, we're not gathering the feedback as much as we are using it. So on the outreach, I'm referencing the positive feedback that they gave us last time, if it was positive, or I'm addressing the sort of constructive feedback that we got back. So something like, hey, I know you said last time that the portions were perfect and maybe you ran out of just like one thing, but we adjusted and we're going to send more rice or whatever it is this time. So we're glad that you loved everything, but we're making it even better. Or in the case that maybe something was delivered late, I could say like, hey, I know that we really messed this up the last time. Here are the things that we've done. Here's the new delivery partner that we're working with, et cetera, to make sure that we're kind of building their confidence in us again.
Yep.
And then again, as always, filling the funnel. So uncovering new opportunities to me is this is not asking for the next event like it was when we're following up. To me, this is really getting to know your customer and understanding the things that they could use you for that they don't realize they could use you for just yet. For instance, we've talked about this, I think, before, but when you call and ask if we do catering, which we know we don't probably do, but if we were asking about, do you do catering? People will say like, oh no, we only ever do like lunch and learns because it's just like this individual box. And it's like, that's what we do. We can do that. So uncovering new opportunities, I think, is part of building the relationship and giving them more ways to use us. And then expansion within their network is kind of what Byron was alluding to earlier, where we can say, hey, we love doing lunches for you once a week or once a month or whatever. We know that at Capital One, for instance, you are one of 30 admins. Can we set up like a lunch where you get to invite everybody that you know does this, and I can bring lunch for all of them? Again, like you're the hero in this situation, but we don't actually have to just limit it to just your company. What about Capital One is on floors 5 through 8, but do you know anybody who's on 9, 10, and 11? Because we can also invite them. So just kind of their general network. Kind of expansion.
And
Anything
then
there,
before, the
Byron?
only thing I was going to tell you with the schedule in-person meetings, what I was going to tell you is once you've met someone in person, then the follow-up phone calls are so much easier to do because you've made that personal touch once, that then you can have just the regular phone calls after that because you've connected. So yeah, great.
Totally. So the second thing we talked about was a hyper focus on high value opportunities. And I wanted to break this down into, again, two sort of strategies, tips that I have around this, things that I've seen work. So for closing repeat business, it's basically a 3 or 4-step process. So we want to identify first, obviously isolating high dollar value events, but also high value contacts. So if we obviously, the high dollar value, I think, is pretty self explanatory, but high value contacts could be that Capital One admin. And it's the first order you've ever had with Capital One. We know that there are more. This person could be a high value contact. We'll talk later in a few minutes about one to many. That one person potentially could be a high value contact in this situation. So it doesn't just have to be based around dollar value when you're looking at your existing base and what you can close again. Timing for this is important for me. I typically will pull this reporting of high value contacts and events with a month and a half until the next event. So think like halfway through the quarter, I will trigger a report if I have a CRM environment, or I will basically sort a list myself in Excel if we don't have a CRM environment. And we'll identify the following quarter's events. I always say I think it's better to reach out too early than obviously too late. And then from there, we'll follow the contact's lead for follow up timing. And Byron pointed out earlier too, we don't want to just follow their lead for timing. If they say they want us to email them, we don't call them. If they say they want us to show up to their office and bring lunch, we don't email them, right? Like we do what they say at the time they asked us to do it. It's that simple. And then scripting. Oh, sorry. Go
No,
ahead,
I was
Byron.
the only thing I was going to say with timing is sometimes that if you're far enough ahead, like 6 weeks, if your point of contact has changed, you have enough time to meet the new point of contact before new decisions are made. So it's a very, very smart strategic approach.
I also think, I mean, this is a little bit maybe manipulative of me, but I think like if I reach out and they say like, "Oh my gosh, we're so not there yet," I'm like, "Take your time. I'm on your side, okay? Like, I'm here when you need me. It kind of makes me feel like I'm at their disposal or whatever when they need it, and not like I'm just, like, trying to get their business, right? Like, I care about them, so I'm letting them have their time almost a little bit. And then for scripting, I think this just makes everything easier. So, scripting, typically, we're talking about, like, over the phone, but I think of scripting even as, like, an email draft. We don't wanna spend that much time on this if we can help it, so we are creating a sort of, we loved doing this last year with you, whatever, we'd love to do it again. What's the timeline for decision making? Those types of things in an email. And then we're customizing it slightly, obviously, when we're doing this outreach based on, again, feedback or whatever. But we don't want to recreate this every time. I know for me, using a template and being able to kind of just tweak it a little bit is so much easier for me to get started than if I'm looking at like a blank email, you know, blank compose window or whatever. And then again, automation is king for me. So, timely reporting on this. Like I said, if you have a CRM environment, scheduling this to send to you, 1 month into every quarter or whatever, just that you're getting the reminder to start, reaching out for these events. And then in a CRM environment, almost always, I think in every CRM I've used, you can create custom tags. If you don't have a CRM environment, you can create another column in Excel that would have, high value or their industry or whatever it is, big event, whatever. And then I like to use AI tools. Recently, I've been using some generative AI to kind of identify my highest value contacts. So I'll say like, hey, these are my top 3 spenders. Tell maybe ChatGPT a little bit about like your business, and then say like, these are my top clients. Who are the other top clients that do events like these in my trade area? Or what other events do these companies have coming up that they would require lunch for, something like that. And sometimes what you get back is not great, but a lot of times what I'll get back is maybe not specific to closing this repeat business, but it's kind of like identifying how I would in the future. Like it's not wasteful, I think, and it's
Yeah.
definitely not time consuming.
There's
And I
always
love
usually one sug
AI.
there's always usually one suggestion that comes up that I go, "Wow, I hadn't thought about that," and it takes you to a new direction. So, no, I think it's great. And
Right,
so,
and
Allie, just let you
oh,
know, we got
wow.
about 5 minutes left. That's okay. I just wanna and we'll skirt through it, and maybe we can maybe go a couple minutes over, but I just wanna make sure you knew that. Okay.
Totally. I'm sorry. I can talk forever, as you know.
No,
So,
you're fine.
the next one was just large event expansion. I'm going to keep this pretty quick, but I like to think of the timing for this one as way longer, right? Like 6 months plus. We are limited on this based on like what we have access to, but I'm talking about for these large outdoor races, like the Chase Corporate Challenge in Chicago, for instance, Cherry Blossom Festival in DC, weddings, conventions. Some of your uh, chambers will have convention listings, so that's why I say we're kind of limited on where and when we can get the information. But it's basically following the same process, setting up alerts when there are new RFPs that come out through your chamber, and adding the organizers to your list and see in your CRMs with like a lead list, maybe with a custom tag for like a large event organizer. You can go to the next one.
I was gonna say some real quick too. Sometimes you go to your list of conferences and things coming to your location, to your town, and you go, well, but it's at a conference center and they're gonna do their own catering. A lot of these conferences will do events in the community and beyond just where they're gonna be at the conference center, whether it's working at the food bank or doing other things. So sometimes there are other opportunities beyond that. So don't just pass it up
Totally.
because you think it's too big for you.
Totally. And I have one thing to say about that, but I'll get through this one in a second. And I remind me if I don't if I don't remember. But anyway, launching a preferred vendor program, I think so. We're boosting revenue through strategic partnerships. This is that one to many approach. So we're IDing potential partners. These could be convention centers, weddings, banquet halls, hotels that maybe don't have a restaurant. I also think sometimes medical offices, funeral homes. We talked about a little bit last time. Um, Athletic directors. These could be like your potential partners. And then the point of contact for those obviously will vary greatly based on where you're targeting. But I think the scope of these is almost always custom menu offerings, discounting, or some kind of perk for whoever they will be selling to for you. And then we'll engage both digitally and physically with like marketing packets for our point of contact to distribute for us, essentially. And then obviously at the end of the process, we would evaluate and redesign if we were going to do a preferred vendor program. I think of back in my old Potbelly days, we did this with Hopkins. And so we connected with the athletic department at Hopkins, and then they essentially sold us to every visiting team that was coming in. So it doesn't have to be fancy. It doesn't have to be, they don't have to get a kickback. They can, but they don't have to. It can just be that we're the best partner, and they're going to tell everyone about that.
And just keep in mind how many partners there are out there. There's bus tour companies, there's travel agencies, there's so many one to many things out there. Just pick one and get it going. And then once that one gets established, then look for the next one. And this one I think is very, very impactful. So I want to make sure we have enough time for this.
Yeah, so this is what I wanted to say about your comment earlier. A lot of us that are this army of one, we're not just specifically catering growth people, we are sales growth people, and we are sometimes sales and marketing people. Like we kind of have to wear all the hats. And I don't think that this sort of co-branding or co-hosting of marketing campaigns has to be very sophisticated. This can be something that we can do in Gmail. This can be something that we can do in Canva for free. But in this scenario, we would identify potential partners. To me, the best place to start for these is non-food. So like if you're a health food company, maybe a gym is a great place to start. If you generally, I think florists are a great one. I am in a sandwich concept. I love partnering with a florist because it kind of like elevates what we're doing and it makes it a little bit more fun. Although I have seen really cool, I told Byron earlier, I've seen a really cool Yum Brands partnership with a footwear company where they did Pizza Hut slides and KFC chicken bucket tennis shoes. So like the possibilities are endless here. But again, the point of contacts are different than who we're typically selling to. You would have to obviously define the scope here. Are these discounting? Is it bundled products? Is it co-branded things like I just mentioned? And then we're engaging. For these, we cast as wide a net as possible, in my opinion. We are all about growing the audience here. So social media, email, and in-person engagement. And then again, is this the right partner for us? The brand and the way they executed, and are the targets that we've set realistic for this sort of thing, or should we revisit? And then kind of that whole cycle starts over again.
And again, one of the things we wanted to make sure that we wrap this up with, and I think Ali, sorry for rushing you there at the end. Well,
No,
that part of that is I took too much time at the beginning, I think. But the idea behind a lot of this is that you don't have to incorporate all of this. Pick one or two things, and then as you grow, add more. And so again, to Ali's point, if you find somebody to partner with in there, one of the things I would say, I've heard of like independent restaurants that don't have liquor licenses working with a beer and wine facility to kind of partner and to look for events, and then you kind of work those events together. Especially if you're wanting to do more of the high end social catering as part of your revenue drives as well. So we want to continue to remove the barriers and get some help. So we're going to really focus on the next couple of months. This one is something we've covered before. It's just a 7-step communication process. When we start talking about the workflows and the sequencing, here's what this is and how to do it. It'll be in the link that we send you or the recording that you can watch when you get to Catermind. May, we're going to talk about prepping for back to school season, summertime opportunities, evaluating the catering plan that you've had at the beginning of the year. How are we doing? And do we need to make adjustments? We're going to talk about the third and fourth quarter target plans, investigating catering tools in more detail as we kind of flush out these topics in a little more detail for you about the Army of One mindset. And then again, when you get this, you can sign up and join Catermind. It's a free community to join. We try to put as much stuff in there as we can, but if there's something more you'd like to see, just let us know. And then finally, we just want to say thank you. Sorry we went 2 minutes over. Hopefully it was a good use of your time. We love doing these. Ali and I were talking about this morning how much we really enjoyed doing these with you guys, and we hope to keep doing it for the rest of the year as long as you'll have us. Please share and let other folks know we're doing these. We'd love a big as audiences would want to participate. So, Ali, anything before we go?
No, thank you guys so much.
Hey, all right, everybody. Thank you so much. We appreciate it. If you have any questions, please go ahead and email me. My name is I'm Byron at the nccgroup.com. If you have something for Ali, I'll be happy to make sure we share it with her and pass it over there. So, all the best, and we'll talk soon.